So I'm Ignacio Blanquer. I'm the European coordinator at Atmosphere. I work at the Technical University of Valencia in Spain.
I'm Francisco Brasileiro. I'm from the Federal University of Campina Grande in Brazil, and I'm the project coordinator at the Brazilian site.
I can start if you want. So Atmosphere tries to measure trustworthiness in many areas. I mean, it's not only that we will consider trustworthiness in several dimensions, but we will also considering trustworthiness at the level of the design and dynamically during the execution.
And I think one important point to emphasize is that we not only address properties like security, privacy, and reliability, which have been widely studied, but some other properties that are less covered and are still open problems, like isolation, transparency, stability, and others.
Well, innovation, I mean, if we consider innovation as the point of transferring these new developments that we have in the project, there are several areas. But one interesting thing, since I am coordinating also the part of the pilot cases, will be in medicine. So what we try is to incorporate these trustworthy properties, for example, fairness, which would mean that we don't have models that discriminate by reasons of gender or reasons of race, in the machine learning tools that will characterize the different diseases that we want to classify from the medical data that we get as one of the pilot use cases.
So as I said before, some of the property or metrics that are going to be handled by the several tools that are going to be developed in the project are not commonly addressed in the current state of the art. So by providing such service, we will enable applications that could not run in the cloud because their requirements could not be met by this kind of infrastructure. So this will possibly provide new directions for companies to exploit business that couldn't be explored before the existence of such tools. Frankly, start with that.
Sure.
The problem we are tackling is a very complex one. So we need a lot of expertise. So to have the possibility of getting the expertise where it is and combining in the consortium is fundamental to solve this problem. On top of that, many of the partners have very fruitful and previous collaborations in the context of this kind of initiative supported by the Brazilian government and the European Commission, which is it's very interesting to see how these collaborations evolved and so the support from the Brazilian government and the European Commission for this kind of initiative is very important.
If I can add, I think that it is not only that some of the expertise is difficult to find in a regional context. I mean, I think that the expertise on federation that has, for example, the group of the UFCG, it's difficult to find at the European level, for example. I think that it's something similar that happens in Brazil for other expertise that we have at the European side. So since there are initiatives funded by the European government and the European Commission and the Brazilian government in cloud computing that are highly complementary, I think it's a very good opportunity to mix this expertise that we already have kind of find. For example, also with the data that we have for the pilot case. The pilot case is inherent data that has been collected in Brazil for a problem that is worldwide relevant and used by a European company to analyze and process obtained knowledge. So it's a very good example that couldn't be done in a framework that is not this international cooperation.
And I think the Brazilian partners benefit a lot from the long experience that the European partners have with this interface with the industry inside the project. So this is something that's still new for us in Brazilian consortium, and it's very valuable, especially for the sustainability of the outcomes of the project. Now, perhaps I just replied in the previous question, but as I can reinforce that to have the experience of the industry with being more close to the users or potential customers of the technology is very important. As I said before, in Brazil, it's not common for the academy to. We have less incentives for these partnerships, and so being able to be part of this consortium with the European partners following this model is very beneficial for not only for the project but for the future activities of the members. So it's very enlightening.
Actually, also it's important to outline that we are dealing with three topics that are of high relevance for the industry, which is cloud computing, which is artificial intelligence, and it's medical imaging. And actually, I would say that the industries are leading ahead of academy in many cases in this area. So I think that it's absolutely crucial to have the industries there, because as academy we can add some dimension that they hadn't considered, but they have some expertise that is much more extended and tested than in many academic institutions.
Yeah, in some ways we have more freedom to explore the solution space, and at the same time having the industry on board to focus it's a good balance to get very good results out of the project.
Well, in general, all the technologies that we are developing are, let's say, application independent. So we are not focusing on a specific use case. We have a use case that is on telemedicine or on medical imaging because it's really a challenging use case that covers a lot of problems that we want to cover in trustworthy scenario in atmosphere. But actually, any case in which privacy or integrity or quality of service is required can benefit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and security and privacy used to be the main concern for business to adopt cloud computing as a platform for their application. And some of the issues with security and privacy have already been addressed, but there are many others that we are focused in the project that we don't have still good solutions available. So by providing solutions for some of the problem, we believe we are broadening the amount of business or companies that will be able to consider cloud computing as a useful platform and improve their competitiveness